guys?
A lot of great competition in fall camp, and going through, we felt like there were still kind of a few oars in there, and so I'm excited to watch these guys play, watch them compete, and go out there and watch them play, right? And they are going to rotate a little bit, just getting guys in different moments, different situations, because ultimately we have to get to a point where we feel like, okay, this is the guy, and all those guys have done an incredible job coming along really nicely, but we just want to see a little bit more.
Then another depth chart question. We saw Jiren, tight end one. What did he do to separate himself in that room?
Jiren was absolutely consistent all fall camp. Not just in his play, but how he was in the film room and his studies, being in the building. And the best thing that Jiren did at practice, when the ball came his way, he made the play. And that was really exciting. And again, I say consistent with that. He was consistently making the play. Someone who understands where he's supposed to be in certain concepts, how to run the route and body position himself to get open. And I think he built a really good rapport with John. And so, Jiren went out there and he earned it. And that's not to say those other guys haven't done an unbelievable job. They are all still going to play too. But, Jiren earned the right to run out there first.
We were talking to John last night. He was saying that when he got here in the spring, he remembers throwing a touchdown to Giovanni and being like the only one to run down there to celebrate. And I know you've mentioned before kind of celebrating the little victories, but what was it like kind of installing that kind of culture and just the process of it?
Great question. I always say you got to remember that football's a game. And whenever good things happen, whether big or small, they're worth celebrating. If you don't celebrate the small victories, you're going to let the minute inconveniences during a practice really start to hamper you. So you have to go out there. The ball finds energy, right? Positive things find energy whenever you're out there at practice. And so building that in those guys every single day and celebrating another's success, celebrating your teammate's success, that's part of our culture here. That's part of Coach Venables' culture here at Oklahoma, is celebrating all the small victories and successes that your teammates have too. And so just making that a point every day, okay, on every potential play, to look for the good in it, all right? And that's from coaches and players alike, celebrating those small wins. I think it just helps, one, build the confidence and allows those guys to go out there and play even more free. And so it was fun. It was fun to get that going throughout the spring and summer and fall camp and build that. And those kids, they've done a great job supporting each other.
Keep going down the line, Barry.
Yeah, Ben, I assume you're going to be on the field. Who's going to be your eyes in the press box on game days?
Yeah, I will be on the field, and I will have, John Kuzieski, who came over with me from Washington State and was with me at Western Kentucky. He'll be up in the press box. Coach Joe John Finley, he'll be up in the press box. And those are the two main guys right there.
Yeah, Ben, just sort of along those lines, why is it important for you to be on the field? Why do you prefer that versus up top for you?
Yeah, awesome question. I think the immediate communication and interaction I can have with the guys, right? Whether there's a adjustment that needs to be made or something really good happened right there, and got to tell them, okay, hey, this happened. We got to keep on doing this. Be ready for this. I think the immediate communication that I can have, and you can also get a sense for your players when you're down there, right? Are they too high? Are they too low? And you can do something about it immediately, other than being in the box and having to necessarily rely on everyone else down there. And for me personally, just being a quarterback guy, I like being able to look John in the eyes and talk to him. I think that's really important. I think that direct communication and getting on the same page is really important. So that's why I like being on the field.
You always done that?
I've always done that, yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Another one on the offensive line. Coach Beanbo traditionally tinkers a little bit those first 5 or 6 weeks and does a good job at that. But with the meat of the schedule picking up immediately, how do you balance letting those battles carry on versus needing to build that chemistry and cohesion to get after it with some of these big-time defenses you've got front-loaded in the schedule?
Coach Beanbo's done a great job throughout camp of mix and matching and putting people and ultimately pushing towards, where we think the best chemistry is. And again, you see those oars and stuff on the initial depth chart that's out. Again, that's us just trying to find the pieces to the puzzle, right? And ultimately building that straight chemistry that you're talking about right there. But you're right, it is important. We got to make sure throughout the bulk of this schedule, because like you said, it starts early. We got to make sure that we are on the same page and we're lockstep, especially in those front five, okay, going into the season. But Coach Beanbow's done a great job of putting those guys in different situations in order to see where do we have the best chemistry, what specific group, who plays the best where, who plays the best next to somebody. He's done an awesome job with that.
Stay on that side, second row, Jenny Carlson.
Hey, Ben, I know you've only been here a short time, been around Brent a short time, so this may be a little bit of an unfair question, but every head coach has got a level of personal responsibility. It's the nature of the job, obviously, but Brent spending time here really helping to reestablish Oklahoma as a power. I'm wondering just what you've seen in terms of, his level of personal responsibility. What sort of informs that for him on a day-to-day basis?
His level of personal responsibility to make.
Care.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone in the building, probably in Norman, that questions how much Coach Venables cares, and he shows it with how he does everything every single day. He truly lives by the motto, "How you do anything is how you do everything," and he's always ready in every single moment. Every single moment is 4th and 1 to him. It's the most important thing every single day. And that feeds off into the coaches, and it feeds off into the players. And so that mindset that Coach Venables brings every single day, it sets a precedent and a standard for every situation that we could be in the meeting room, on the field, in our staff meetings, that what we are doing right now is the most important thing. And I personally think that's the only way to do it. I mean, you have to be in the moment in everything that you do, and Coach Venables exemplifies that in every aspect of his life.
Any examples of that stand out in your mind?
I mean, the best one is, whenever we have situationals during practice, whether it's a 2-minute drill or 4-minute drill, or we're working third downs or we're working goal lines, he is living in that moment. And the players feel that. I feel that. It makes me want to compete even harder because, he's running the defense on the other side. I'm like, well, if he's going to bring it, I better bring it too, or else my guys aren't going to bring it. And so that's just one example right there, but it's everything that he does. And it's something that I really appreciate.
Okay, third row behind Jenny.
Yeah, Coach, you got a lot of running backs who look like they're capable of getting game action. Do you prefer to have maybe a couple of guys that you lean on, or are you good with like 4 guys over the course of a season?
You have to look at your personnel, and you also have to look at what the game plan is going in. And you have to try and find the specific strengths that all of them have and put them in the situations to be successful. I think we're fortunate in the running back room that we have guys in there who are really talented, who can do a lot of different things. But again, if a guy's hot, I'm not going to take him out of the game. If he's running well, if he's built, if he has a good mindset through every play and every drive of the game, it's going to be really hard to just take him off of the field for just somebody else, okay? But at the end of the day, you got to play to the strengths of those guys and what the game plan calls for. But also there's a coach element to it, a football element too, that if a guy's rolling, you don't cool him off. And so I hope that answered your question.
Okay, third row aisle, Kerry Murdoch.
And I'm curious, new receivers with a new quarterback, how much of that is just a connection between those two, between the quarterback and the receiver, versus just flat out talent to make your offense successful?
Yeah, chemistry's huge. And since the day that, John got here, right, he's been building it with those guys, because they really a lot of them showed up at the same time together. And then, also Mike building the chemistry with them and those guys. Chemistry is important. You can overcome some things with talent, sure, but if you look at any great receiver, college or NFL, the chemistry they had with their quarterbacks, I think irreplaceable, because there's been a lot of talented receivers that haven't done as well as they'd want to because them and their quarterback aren't on the same page. So I don't think there's any replacement for chemistry specifically between those two positions. And I like the work that our guys have put in spring, summer, and fall to, get on the same page, whether it's timing or specifics on how maybe John likes to throw a route or throw a receiver open in certain situations. And so those guys, they've done a great job. There's no replacement for chemistry in my mind.
Hey, Ben, you talked a little bit about the receivers. Wanted to ask specifically about that X spot with Keontez, Ivan, Elijah. Just how competitive was that battle specifically, and then just what stood out about Keontez?
It was fun. It was really fun. It was insanely competitive too, because Keontez, he's an older guy. He's played a lot of ball. He might be in his 6th year of college football. Like that guy's a veteran. He knows how to attack practice, okay, and he knows what he needs to do in certain situations to make himself and the team successful. The best thing that I think Ivan did is Ivan attacked this fall camp. He attacked this fall camp. He was a guy. It was every single day, whether it was a little push, like a push crack onto a safety, or making a tough back shoulder catch with someone draped all over him. He consistently showed up in those moments, and it was so much fun to watch. And then E.T., for being a young guy, in that role, especially with those older guys there, really fed off them, and whenever you go sit in the receiver meeting rooms, you see him locked in and engaged, and whenever one of those older guys talks, he's not just, staring at butterflies or something. He's locked into what they're saying too, because he knows that they've done it. And so that specific position was a whole lot of fun, because there's a great amount of competition that went into it, and those guys brought it every single day. So I really appreciate that exact position you're talking about, but it was a lot of fun this fall camp.
Yeah, you obviously showed up and kind of took a back seat when you first got here, going into the bowl game, and let Joe John finish out calling the plays. But what was, I guess, from that point to now, the biggest maybe cultural issue that you wanted to fix within the offense, and do you think you've accomplished that? And is there anything else that you're kind of looking forward to going through this season, working on?
Whenever I came in, I think it's really hard for me to just comment on anything that happened last year or the state of anything whenever I got here. I don't think that'd be fair for me to do that. But one thing that I did know whenever I did come in is these kids want someone to follow. They want someone to lead them, because our kids, one thing I've learned about them, if you ask them to do something, they will fly around, they will do it, and they will do it to the best of their ability. So whenever they can consistently get that every day, and from me, I take it personally because I feed off Coach Venables in that respect of, I'm going to bring it every single day because I want these kids to bring it every day. And it kind of goes back to his question earlier, feeding off the energy that I can bring every day, feeding off the consistency that I can every day, because kids can sense it. If you're one way one day and one way another, okay, they know better than anyone, right? And so I think that was the biggest thing that I could bring to the table, was just my level of consistency of how I was going to be every single day, whether it was the energy, me at practice, how I interact with them in the building. That was the thing on that side of the ball that I thought I could bring the most value to, just for them, and in terms of getting them to pull the rope in the same direction.
Let's go ahead, Mason Young.
Yeah, Ben, wanted to ask you about Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock. Just what did those two guys in particular show you during fall camp? Because it seems like they made the most of their opportunities.
Toughness, and they were resilient all fall camp. Those guys were, staples in fall camp, just in terms of they were there every single day. They didn't try to. There were times where their bodies were probably hurting, but they knew we needed them in those moments. I just appreciate those guys because they allowed us to practice the way we need to practice, and they brought it every single day, and they both got so much better every single day. And I think of Torrey as a young guy. I think with the reps that he was able to get in this fall camp, I think it just kind of sped up his development and made his ceiling even higher. And so I have nothing but respect for those two kids. They were awesome during fall camp, and they're great kids. As respectful as they come, they're sharp as can be, and they're team guys. If they got to pick up a blitzing Kobe McKenzie in the A gap, they're going to do that. And then if they need to do something out of the backfield, they're going to do that, and they're going to do it to the best of their ability. So those two guys are awesome.
I'm sorry, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Ben.
Yep.